The Emergency Security Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Chen's message echoed through the room. The representatives of Earth's nations, once divided by borders, politics, and ideology, now sat united by a common enemy. Outside, the crystalline ships of the Xilari Dominion hovered over major cities, their hulls shimmering with an otherworldly glow that cast strange shadows across panicked streets. "They will respond with force," warned the Russian delegate, his weathered face grave in the dim light. "We've just witnessed what they did to Mars." Chen nodded, her military posture never faltering despite 36 sleepless hours. "They were always going to respond with force. The difference is now we fight on our terms, not theirs." Displays around the chamber showed real-time footage from cities worldwide. Civilians rushed to evacuation centers while military units mobilized with grim efficiency. Decades of international tension had prepared Earth for war, just not against this enemy. "The Xilari transmission is incoming," announced the communications officer, her voice steady despite the fear evident in her eyes. Vorkath's angular face appeared on the main screen, his mercury eyes narrowing to silvery slits. When he spoke, his translator rendered his words in a voice too smooth, too perfect to be human. "Your defiance is noted, and will make your eventual subjugation all the more satisfying. The Dominion has conquered 1,000 species across 12 galaxies. You are nothing special." His lipless mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "As a demonstration of our generosity, you have 6 Earth hours to surrender unconditionally. After that, we begin planetary pacification." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the chamber in tense silence. President Okafor of the African Union was the first to speak. 6 hours. What can we possibly accomplish in 6 hours against technology centuries beyond our own? Admiral Chen turned to the assembly, her eyes reflecting the determination that had elevated her to command Earth's unified defense forces at the unprecedented age of 42. "We can show them that humans don't fight like the other species they've conquered," she said, activating the central holographic display. "Operation Mongoose is already underway." The display showed tactical teams moving through underground facilities worldwide, accessing classified weapons systems, deploying specialized units, evacuating critical scientific personnel to hardened bunkers. For decades, every major power has maintained doomsday contingencies, Chen explained. Weapons too devastating to use against each other, plans too aggressive to acknowledge in peacetime. As of 20 minutes ago, all participating nations have placed these resources under unified command. The Chinese representative leaned forward. "You're suggesting we use weapons that could devastate our own planet?" Chen shook her head. "I'm suggesting we use everything except those weapons. The Xilari expect either immediate surrender or a desperate, uncoordinated last stand. They don't expect Operation Mongoose, the complete decentralization of our defense forces into autonomous cells that can continue fighting even if this room and everyone in it is vaporized in the next hour." Dr. Raman, hastily summoned from her quantum laboratory at Cambridge, studied the tactical displays with growing understanding. "You're not planning a conventional defense at all, are you?" "Conventional defense would fail," Chen replied simply. "Instead, we're preparing the longest, most painful, most costly occupation the Xilari Dominion has ever experienced. They may take our cities, but holding them will bleed them dry." Outside, the first Xilari landing crafts began their descent through Earth's atmosphere, their hulls glowing red with friction. On screens worldwide, Admiral Chen's face appeared with a final message before communications went dark. "To all citizens of Earth, remember that our greatest weapon has always been our stubborn refusal to accept defeat. This is not the end. This is just the beginning of their education." Major Seto crouched in the rubble of what had once been downtown Osaka, his adaptive camouflage suit blending perfectly with the concrete and twisted metal. Beside him, Sergeant Park, a South Korean Special Forces operator who, in another lifetime, might have been his enemy, checked the modified sniper rifle they'd assembled from scavenged Xilari components. "Target approaching," Park whispered, his voice barely audible over their secure comms. "Heavy patrol, 2 skimmers, and a command unit." Sato raised his binoculars. Through the swirling dust, he observed the auxiliary patrol moving with the overconfidence of conquerors who believed the resistance broken. Their crystalline armor caught the afternoon sun, creating prismatic flashes that would have made them beautiful if they hadn't been responsible for thousands of civilian deaths. "Confirm visual on the data package?" Sato asked, focusing on the command unit's distinctive markings. Park nodded. "That's our target. Field Commander Zelvox, responsible for the Kyoto massacre." Sato activated his encrypted transmitter. "Ghost actual to Nightingale. Target confirmed. Awaiting authorization." Admiral Chen's voice came through clearly despite being broadcast from a bunker half a world away. "Nightingale confirms. Operation Ghost proceeding as planned. You have authorization." As the auxiliary patrol moved between the ruined skyscrapers, creating a perfect bottleneck, Sato gave the signal, not just to Park, but to 20 other resistance cells positioned throughout the ruins. The ambush was executed with surgical precision. ENUP charges detonated simultaneously, temporarily disabling the aliens' energy shields. Before they could recover, precision fire targeted the joints in their armor, the weakness Dr. Raman's analysis had identified. Within 40 seconds, the entire patrol lay disabled or dead. The survivors, including Commander Zelvox, found themselves surrounded by humans who seemed to materialize from the very rubble. "Gather their weapons and tech," Sato ordered. "Falcon team, secure the prisoner for transport. Remember, we need him alive." As his team efficiently stripped the valuable technology, Sato couldn't help but feel a grim satisfaction. 3 months ago, he and Park had been participants in joint military exercises, rehearsing for a war neither of their countries truly expected. Now they fought side by side against an enemy from beyond the stars. Half a world away, in a hardened bunker beneath the Alps, Dr. Raman received the data package transmitted from Sato's team. The captured auxiliary technology would provide another piece in the puzzle she was assembling. "Their shield modulation changes, but not randomly," she explained to the engineers gathered around her workstation. "There's a pattern, mathematical, precise, and therefore predictable." On screens around them, similar operations were unfolding across the globe. In the Amazon rainforest, indigenous guides led special forces through paths invisible to auxiliary sensors. In the ruins of Moscow, resistance fighters used the city's extensive underground to stage hit-and-run attacks. In the Australian outback, modified civilian vehicles struck mining operations the aliens had established. None of these actions would defeat the auxiliary alone, but together they formed the foundation of Admiral Chen's strategy: death by 1,000 cuts. "The auxiliary expected us to fight like every other species they conquered," Chen explained during the secure briefing with resistance leaders. "They expected centralized command, conventional tactics, and eventually surrender. Instead, we're fighting like humans, adaptable, unpredictable, and absolutely unwilling to accept defeat." On her screen, the pattern of global resistance activities formed a distinct shape, not random strikes, but a coordinated effort to gather intelligence, capture technology, and identify weaknesses. The Ghost Protocol wasn't merely about survival. It was preparation for a counteroffensive the invaders would never see coming. "They declared war," Chen reminded her scattered forces. "Soon, they'll learn what that truly means." The underground laboratory hummed with activity, a stark contrast to the devastated city above. Dr. Raman moved between workstations where scientists from 24 nations worked in focused silence. Fragments of captured auxiliary technology covered every surface: shield generators, weapon components, and communication devices in various states of disassembly. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source, Raman explained, guiding Admiral Chen through a secure video conference. "It wasn't our quantum physicists or weapons engineers who identified the critical weakness." She gestured to a young woman working quietly in the corner, surrounded by botanical specimens. "Dr. Nadia Osoi, a botanist who specialized in symbiotic relationships before the invasion. She noticed something about the auxiliary shield technology that the rest of us missed. Chen leaned closer to her screen. A botanist. Explain. Dr. Osei looked up from her work. Dark circles under her eyes testament to sleepless nights. Their shield technology operates like certain plant defense mechanisms, layered, adaptive responses to specific threats. But like plants, they've evolved to counter threats they've encountered before. Their shields are remarkably efficient against energy weapons and ballistic impacts, but they haven't adapted to certain frequencies because they've never needed to. Raman picked up a modified device that resembled a standard pulse emitter with crude additions. We've been trying to overpower their shields when we should have been looking for the gaps in their evolutionary armor. These modified pulse generators target those specific frequencies. Chen's expression remained neutral, but a glint of hope showed in her eyes. Field testing. 97% effectiveness in controlled conditions, Raman replied. We need to distribute the specifications to manufacturing cells worldwide. The Admiral nodded. Make it happen. Her image disappeared from the screen as the secure connection terminated. In his command center beneath the ruins of New Delhi, Vorkath reviewed casualty reports with growing frustration. The human resistance should have been crushed by now, their major military installations destroyed, their governments in exile, their cities under occupation. Yet every day brought new attacks, each one more precisely targeted than the last. They're adapting too quickly, his lieutenant observed, mandibles clicking with anxiety. 3 more patrols lost in the Moscow sector. Equipment recovery teams ambushed in Rio. Mining operations sabotaged in Australia. Vorkath slammed his armored fist against the holographic display. They're animals. Primitives. How are they coordinating these attacks with our communication networks compromised? Unknown, Commander, the lieutenant replied. But there's worse news. The human captives no longer fear public execution. The last group actually smiled before their termination. One spoke directly to you through the broadcast. The commander hissed with irritation. What nonsense did it spew? The human said, every execution is a data point. Thank you for your contribution to our research. Vorkath's mercury eyes narrowed. What could that possibly mean? His question was answered moments later when alarms blared throughout the facility. The perimeter sensors showed nothing, but suddenly the shields protecting the command center flickered and failed. Before security protocols could activate, small cylindrical devices rolled into the room through ventilation shafts. Primitive chemical weapons, Vorkath scoffed, activating his personal shield. His confidence lasted only seconds before his shield flickered and died like the others. The gas filling the room wasn't lethal. Instead, it contained a powerful sedative calibrated specifically to auxiliary biology. As darkness claimed his consciousness, Vorkath heard the command center doors open. Through blurring vision, he saw humans in makeshift hazard suits enter the room. One approached him directly, placing a small communication device near his head. We've studied you while you thought you were studying us. A woman's voice, Admiral Chen's, explained calmly. Consider this another data point in your education about humanity. Chief Warrant Officer Malik Robinson moved through the auxiliary flagship's corridors with practiced precision, his team following in perfect formation. 6 months ago, he'd been training recruits at Fort Benning. Now he led a multinational strike team equipped with a hybrid of human and alien technology, infiltrating the most powerful vessel in Earth's atmosphere. Junction ahead, whispered Corporal Santos, her modified scanner detecting movement beyond the bulkhead. 3 sentries, standard configuration. Malik signaled the team to halt. Their adaptive camouflage, reverse-engineered from captured auxiliary stealth technology and improved by human engineers, rendered them nearly invisible against the crystalline walls. The flagship's interior glowed with an eerie blue light that pulsed in patterns the human scientists believed represented the ship's neural network. Deploy disruptors on my mark, Malik ordered, his voice calm despite the stakes. Remember, minimal noise. We need to reach the command center before they realize we're aboard. The team activated their frequency disruptors, Dr. Raman's latest innovation. The devices emitted precisely calibrated pulses that interfered with ciliary neural implants without damaging the ship's systems. The sentries dropped silently, unconscious rather than dead. Bind them and move on, Malik instructed. Timetable is tight. As they approached the command center, resistance grew fiercer. The ship's automated defense systems activated, forcing the team to use conventional weapons. The distinctive crack of human firearms echoed through alien corridors, a sound not heard aboard a auxiliary vessel in their 1,000-year history of conquest. 3 team members fell to enemy fire, their sacrifices allowing the others to breach the final security door. Inside the command center, auxiliary officers turned in shock as humans stormed their sanctum. Their confusion was understandable. No species had ever boarded a Dominion flagship in battle. Secure the navigation systems, Malik ordered, engaging the auxiliary commander in hand-to-hand combat. The alien was stronger, but Malik had trained in 5 different martial arts. He used the commander's strength against him, a technique the auxiliary had never encountered. Lieutenant Kim reached the central console, inserting the quantum encryption key Dr. Raman had prepared. Uplink established. Operation Achilles is live. Outside, the battle for Washington, D.C. reached its climax. The auxiliary ground forces, suddenly cut off from their command ship's coordination, fought with decreasing effectiveness. Human resistance fighters emerged from tunnels and ruins, wearing makeshift armor incorporating alien materials, wielding weapons that could penetrate auxiliary shields. Most shocking to the aliens was the discipline of the human counterattack. Instead of chaotic revenge, the resistance executed precise strikes against command units while offering surrender terms to common soldiers. Loudspeakers broadcast in the auxiliary language. Lay down your weapons. You will be treated according to Earth's laws of war. In her command bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Chen watched tactical displays as green indicators spread across the map. Not just in Washington, but in Beijing, Moscow, London, and 24 other cities worldwide. The simultaneous counteroffensive, Operation Achilles, had caught the occupation force completely unprepared. Send the signal to all resistance cells, she ordered. Phase 2 begins now. Her communications officer nodded. Message transmitted. The tide has turned. On screens worldwide, civilians in occupied territories saw the same message, hidden in seemingly random patterns of light and sound that the auxiliary sensors missed, but human pattern recognition instantly decoded. In apartments and basements, and farmhouses, people who had endured months of occupation prepared for liberation. The auxiliary had declared war expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they faced a species that turned adversity into opportunity and defeat into determination. As Malik secured the flagship's bridge, he transmitted the confirmation that would echo around the world. The heart of the beast is ours. Humanity fights back. Dr. Raman stood in the center of what had once been CERN's main particle accelerator facility, now transformed into Earth's premier reverse engineering laboratory. Around her, scientists from 37 nations worked in harmonious coordination that would have seemed impossible before the invasion. Former competitors now shared breakthroughs freely, corporate secrets exchanged for the common goal of survival. The shield interface is ready for testing, announced Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, formerly Japan's leading quantum computing specialist. He gestured toward a modified auxiliary defense generator, its crystalline structure now augmented with human components that looked crude by comparison, but served vital functions. Rama nodded, checking the diagnostic display. Power at 60%. That's double what the original could maintain. The auxiliary designed for optimal efficiency within known parameters, Tanaka explained to the observers. They never needed to push boundaries because no enemy challenged them. Their technology plateaued centuries ago. Admiral Chen, present via secure holographic projection, studied the modified shield generator with measured optimism. Production timeline. 3 weeks for the first batch, Raman replied. The manufacturing cells in underground facilities across Europe and Asia have already received the specifications. North American production comes online tomorrow. And the offensive capabilities? Chen pressed. Raman gestured to another workstation, where engineers tested a hybrid weapon system. The modified pulse cannons are exceeding expectations. By incorporating our understanding of quantum interactions, we've improved power efficiency by 80%. They're smaller, more powerful, and can penetrate standard auxiliary shields. The implications weren't lost on anyone present. Humanity wasn't just adapting alien technology, they were improving it. In occupied territories, auxiliary forces faced growing challenges. Their occupations of previous worlds had followed predictable patterns. Destroy military capability, eliminate leadership, extract resources. But humans refused to follow the script. For every resistance cell destroyed, 3 more emerged. Most puzzling to the auxiliary commanders was the humans' treatment of captured soldiers. Lieutenant Mezcor, formerly assigned to the Beijing Occupation Force, sat in a containment facility that defied auxiliary expectations of human brutality. The cell was clean, the food suitable for his biology. Medical attention had been provided for his injuries. Most disturbing was the psychological effect this treatment had on his unit. 8 soldiers who had surrendered rather than fight when their shields failed during a resistance ambush. "Why do you treat us this way?" he asked the human officer who came to interview him. "Your people are dying by the thousands. We've destroyed your cities. Your hatred should be absolute." Colonel Lin Wei, her face bearing scars from the initial invasion, regarded him thoughtfully. "Hatred is a tactical choice, not an inevitability. Your commanders want us to hate you. It would make us predictable, emotional, easier to defeat." The interrogation sessions were broadcast throughout occupied territories, not as propaganda, but as simple truth. Captured auxiliary, treated humanely, described the contrast with how the Dominion treated its enemies. The psychological impact spread through occupation forces, creating fissures in auxiliary unity. Admiral Chen reviewed the reports with strategic satisfaction. Sun Tzu wrote that supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. She told her command staff, "Every auxiliary soldier who surrenders rather than fights saves human lives and provides us with more intelligence." The tide was turning not just through military victory, but through psychological warfare conducted with surgical precision. As manufacturing cells across the planet produced increasingly advanced hybrid technology, and more auxiliary units surrendered rather than face what they now recognized as a uniquely adaptable enemy, Chen prepared for the next phase of liberation. "They still don't understand what they awakened," she observed. "The auxiliary conquered 1,000 worlds, but they've never faced humanity before." The medical bay aboard the reclaimed auxiliary vessel Defiance hummed with activity as Earth physicians worked to stabilize Captain Ilara. Her iridescent skin, normally a vibrant purple, had faded to a dull lavender, a sign of severe distress in neurophysiology. Despite her weakened state, her multifaceted eyes watched the humans with unmistakable wonder. "You should have killed me," she said finally, her translator converting her harmonic language into English. "Any species under Dominion control would have." Dr. Kessler, head of the medical team, checked her vital signs. "That's not how we operate. Besides, you're the first non-auxiliary alien we've encountered. Your knowledge is invaluable." Sasha Kuznetsov, the mining engineer who had discovered the hidden vessel, stood nearby. His team had been establishing forward bases in the asteroid belt when they detected anomalous energy readings. "Your ship was perfectly concealed," he noted. "If not for the damage to your cloaking system, we would never have found you." Ilara's mandibles clicked, the Nyarda equivalent of a bitter laugh. 3 cycles hiding from auxiliary patrols. "I was transporting forbidden materials when they ambushed my squadron." Her voice grew stronger as the medical treatments took effect. "Cultural artifacts from conquered worlds. The Dominion erases the history of every species it subjugates." Admiral Chen joined the conversation through a secure holographic link. Cultural artifacts. You risked your life for art and literature. I risked my life for hope, Ilara corrected. The Dominion's greatest weapon isn't their technology, it's despair. They convince each conquered species that resistance is impossible, has always been impossible. Her eyes focused on Chen with startling intensity. Then we intercepted your world's transmissions. The implications stunned everyone present. The revelation that Earth's broadcasts, everything from news and entertainment to historical documentaries, had reached other star systems and inspired resistance was unexpected. Your stories of oppressed peoples rising against conquerors, of smaller nations defeating empires, of individuals standing against overwhelming odds, these are forbidden in Dominion space. Ilara's translator couldn't fully convey the emotion in her harmonics. When we heard humans had rejected surrender terms, the collective risked everything to monitor your conflict. Chen's expression remained carefully controlled. How many species are part of this collective? 17 in active resistance, dozens more waiting for a sign that the Dominion can be defeated. Ilara attempted to sit up, her determination overriding her weakness. I came to witness your fight firsthand. I never expected to survive, much less be rescued. The strategic implications were immediately clear to Chen. Earth wasn't fighting alone. They had potential allies across the galaxy. She gestured to her communications officer. Prepare a data package. Everything we've learned about Xilari weaknesses, our successful battle tactics, the shield frequency vulnerabilities. Everything. Ilara's multifaceted eyes widened. You would share such information freely, without guarantee of return. That's the difference between Earth and the Dominion, Chen replied. We understand that liberation isn't zero-sum. Your victory is our victory. Within hours, modified Xilari communication systems transmitted the data package through captured relay networks. The message included not just technical specifications and tactical information, but historical examples of successful resistance movements from Earth's history, the very stories that had inspired Ilara's people. As the transmission completed, Chen addressed her senior staff. The battlefield just expanded exponentially. If even half of these subjugated species rise up simultaneously, the Dominion will face something they've never encountered, a multi-front war. Dr. Raman, watching the tactical displays as receipt confirmations appeared from distant star systems, allowed herself a rare smile. They wanted to conquer Earth. Instead, they've ignited a galactic revolution. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Resilience, Earth's first true warship built with hybrid technology. Around her, a crew representing 8 nations worked with quiet efficiency, their movements rehearsed through countless simulations. The vessel, concealed within the shadow of Europa, waited with 43 other ships of the newly formed Earth Defense Fleet. Grand Admiral Zex Terrell's Armada has passed Neptune's orbit, reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson, monitoring the long-range sensors. 117 vessels, including the dreadnought Inevitable Conquest. Estimated arrival at Jupiter in 27 minutes. Chen nodded, her expression betraying nothing of the stakes involved. Earth had one chance to stop the Void Fist Armada, the most powerful fighting force the Dominion had deployed in centuries. If they failed, the planet would face sterilization. Status of Project Graviton, she asked. Dr. Raman reports all engines are operational. The Nayarda engineers have completed final calibrations. Hidden throughout Jupiter's atmosphere and embedded within selected asteroids, thousands of gravity manipulation engines, built with technology provided by Ilara's people, waited for activation. Not designed to destroy the gas giant, but to momentarily alter its gravitational field in a precisely calculated pattern. Signal the fleet. Final positions. Weapons hot but dormant until my command. The Earth vessels, their hulls incorporating Xilari stealth technology, improved by human engineers, moved silently into predetermined positions. Unlike the towering crystalline structures of Dominion ships, these vessels were matte black, designed for function rather than intimidation. "The Void Fist has entered the kill zone," Jackson announced. "Project Graviton ready for activation." Chen allowed herself one deep breath before giving the order that would determine Earth's fate. "Execute." Throughout Jupiter's swirling atmosphere, the gravity engines activated simultaneously. The gas giant didn't move. Instead, its gravitational field pulsed outward in a precisely shaped wave, invisible but devastating. The leading edge of Zexteral's formation, having entered the calculated zone, suddenly found their navigation systems fighting against an impossible gravitational distortion. As Skilari ships collided with each other, the concealed Earth fleet decloaked and opened fire. Their weapons, modified pulse cannons that incorporated both Skilari and Nyarda technology, targeted the specific vulnerabilities Ramen's team had identified. "The first wave is in disarray," Jackson reported, unable to keep excitement from his voice. 37 enemy vessels disabled or destroyed. But the battle was far from won. The dreadnought Inevitable Conquest adjusted course with surprising agility, its advanced systems compensating for the gravitational anomaly. Zexteral, unlike his predecessors, did not underestimate human ingenuity. "All vessels, execute Delta formation," Chen ordered. "Concentrate fire on the dreadnought's propulsion systems." The Earth fleet moved with practiced precision, focusing their attack while evading the massive energy weapons of the dreadnought. Despite their smaller size, the human vessels demonstrated maneuverability that confused Skilari targeting systems, which were calibrated for predictable, conventional attacks. On the bridge of the Inevitable Conquest, Grand Admiral Zexteral watched with growing concern as his armada's formation collapsed. The humans weren't fighting like any species the Dominion had faced. They combined technologies in ways that defied conventional tactics and leveraged the very environment of their solar system as a weapon. "Deploy boarding countermeasures," he ordered, recognizing the Earth vessel's approach pattern. "They intend to capture, not destroy." But his warning came too late. The Resilience had already matched velocity with the dreadnought, attaching at a junction point where sensors were weakest. The hull breach alarms sounded moments later. Chen led the boarding party herself, the specialized armor enhancing her strength and reflexes as they fought through the dreadnought's defenders deck by deck. Not to destroy, but to capture the most powerful vessel in the Dominion fleet. "Remember your training," she told her team as they approached the bridge. "We're not just fighting for Earth now. We're fighting for every species they've ever subjugated." The observation deck of Unity Station provided an unparalleled view of Earth. Once devastated cities now showed signs of rebuilding, their lights forming constellations against the night side of the planet. Admiral Chen, now Ambassador Chen, watched as delegates from 50 alien civilizations mingled with human representatives, their diverse physiologies and cultures creating a tapestry unlike anything humanity had imagined before first contact. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Dr. Raman joined her at the viewport, her lab coat exchanged for formal diplomatic attire. "When the Skilari arrived, I never thought I'd see this day." Chen nodded, her expression thoughtful. "They thought they were bringing the end of our story. Instead, they were just the beginning of a new chapter." Below them, in the main conference chamber, the final negotiations for the Interstellar Cooperative were concluding. The alliance, built on principles of mutual defense and cultural exchange, rather than conquest or centralized control, represented a governing philosophy the Dominion had never considered viable. "The Nyarda delegation has approved the final terms," reported Commander Jackson, now Chen's diplomatic attaché. "That makes it unanimous. The cooperative is officially established." "And the Skilari representatives?" Chen asked. Still waiting in the diplomatic quarters, Vorkath has requested a private audience before the signing ceremony. Chen exchanged a glance with Raman before nodding. "Very well. Let's hear what he has to say." The former Skilari commander had changed dramatically since his capture during the early stages of the conflict. The proud, dismissive conqueror now carried visible scars and moved with the careful deliberation of someone who had experienced profound failure. Ambassador Chen, he greeted her, his translator now calibrated to remove the artificial smoothness that had once characterized ciliary communication. Dr. Raman, I appreciate you seeing me before the ceremony. The Dominion Council has ratified the terms. Chen asked directly. What remains of it? Yes. Vorkath's mercury eyes reflected the starlight streaming through the viewport. Most of our subjugated worlds have declared independence. Our fleet is reduced to defensive capabilities only. The empire that stood for 10,000 years collapsed in less than 2 of your Earth years. There was no satisfaction in his voice, only a weary acknowledgement of reality. I've studied your history since my capture, he continued. I thought I understood warfare before encountering humans. I was mistaken. The Dominion conquered through overwhelming force and technological superiority. We never needed to innovate, to adapt. And that was your fundamental weakness, Raman observed. Evolution requires pressure. Without meaningful challenges, you stagnated. Vorkath nodded slowly. A painful lesson, but necessary. The question now is whether we can evolve quickly enough to find a place in this new galactic order you've created. Chen studied the alien who had once threatened to eradicate her species. That depends on whether the Xilari can embrace cooperation as enthusiastically as they once embraced conquest. We're learning, Vorkath replied. Many of our younger generations have already embraced the change. They're eager to exchange knowledge and culture rather than imposing ours by force. The observation deck's lighting changed subtly, indicating the commencement of the ceremony below. Chen gestured toward the door. Then let's make history together. As they entered the grand chamber, representatives from across the galaxy rose in acknowledgement. The first human-designed FTL vessel, the Horizon, was visible through the station's massive windows, preparing for its maiden voyage to establish diplomatic missions throughout the cooperative's territory. Dr. Raman, watching as Chen and Vorkath approached the signing table side by side, leaned toward Commander Jackson. When they declared war on us, this must have been the last outcome they imagined. Jackson smiled slightly. That's humanity's greatest weapon. We never follow the expected script. Even our peace is revolutionary. As the cooperative charter was signed by species from across the galaxy, Earth's lights continued to shine below. Not just a birthplace of humanity now, but the cradle of a new galactic civilization built on the principles that had saved it from conquest. Adaptation, cooperation, and the indomitable spirit that turned even defeat into opportunity.